Forgot Starship rejected by all, until a human mechanic turns it into the galaxy's mightiest weapon. The starship yard was noisy, alive with the hum of machinery and the chatter of countless aliens. Ships of all shapes and sizes floated above docking bays, their hulls polished and glowing, engines whispering with latent power. Some ships glimmered like jewels, while others bore scars from battles or long journeys. In the midst of this bustling place, one ship stood out, but not in a good way. The Perseverance was a disaster. Its hull was scratched and dented, patches of rust visible along its once shiny surface. Several engine modules hung loosely and cables protruded like broken veins. No alien species had claimed it. No wealthy trader wanted it. Even the ship's AI, though old and glitchy, seemed to hesitate when anyone approached, as if it knew its own worthlessness. "Why hasn't anyone bought it?" muttered a small, green-skinned alien inspector, waving a multi-fingered hand at the ship. Its eyes glimmered with confusion. "It's not that expensive. Surely some beginner pilot would want it." "No one wants a ship that coughs fire when you try to start it." He walked toward the ship, careful to avoid the scornful eyes of the alien workers. The Perseverance had character, he thought. Not the clean, polished kind that passed inspections, but a stubborn, rough kind. It had survived battles and neglect. Most aliens saw brokenness. Joran saw opportunity. "Looking at the junk again, human," one of the aliens sneered, a voice like grinding metal. Joran smiled. "I see a future champion," he replied, leaning against the dented hull. Sparks flew from his gloves as he touched a damaged panel, testing its wiring. The AI in the ship beeped weakly, almost as if acknowledging his touch. The aliens snorted and returned to their inspections. None of them had patience for imagination. None of them could understand what a human mind could do with ingenuity and persistence. Joran, however, had learned to trust his instincts. By the end of the day, he had made his decision. He walked to the terminal, entered the ship's auction number, and clicked buy. The aliens froze. None of them had expected it. "You're serious?" one of the inspectors asked, his eyes wide. "This ship isn't even spaceworthy, Yule." Joran ran his hands along the controls, examining every gauge, every damaged wire. He muttered to himself, drawing diagrams in the air with his fingers, imagining how he could reroute energy flow, strengthen the hull, and stabilize the engines. It was a puzzle, and Joran loved puzzles. Other humans might have called the task impossible. Aliens certainly had. But for Joran, impossibility was only a word. He began work immediately. The first week was chaos. Sparks flew, alarms rang, and more than once the AI threatened to shut down permanently. Joran ignored them all, using old human tools that the aliens hadn't even seen, improvising parts from scrap modules, and occasionally yelling at a stubborn panel that refused to cooperate. Slowly the ship began to respond. The engines, once rattling dangerously, now hummed a low, steady tune. The hull, patched with clever reinforcements, had fewer weak points, and the controls, though rudimentary, were starting to work in harmony. Each small success made Joran grin, a mix of pride and disbelief. He had taken a ship abandoned by all and little by little was bringing it to life. Even the AI began to change. Its beeps became purposeful, its lights more confident. It was learning to trust Joran, or at least it seemed to. The mechanic whispered plans to the ship late into the night, speaking as though it could answer him. In a way, it did. Every new modification worked because the ship listened, obeyed, and adapted. Rumors of Joran and the Perseverance began to spread. Other mechanics watched from the edges of the shipyard, some curious, some skeptical. Traders whispered about the human who bought a useless ship and claimed he would make it fly. Aliens laughed behind their hands. Humans weren't known for subtlety in mechanics. They were known for boldness and recklessness. Joran didn't care. He spent nights testing new propulsion circuits, rerouting power and strengthening the shields. He taught the ship tricks no manual had ever mentioned: how to react to sudden asteroid fields, how to conserve energy while performing extreme maneuvers, how to hide its signature from long-range sensors. Each improvement made the ship more than just functional. It became something unique. Something unpredictable. Weeks passed. The alien engineers finally began to notice. A small group dared to watch from a distance as Joran ran test simulations. They saw the ship accelerate faster than its size should allow, dodge asteroid debris with uncanny precision, and even recover from near-catastrophic system failures. "This is not normal," muttered one inspector. "Humans," replied another, shaking its head. "They think differently. They fix things in ways that make no sense to the rest of us, but maybe there's something there." He patched systems the aliens had long abandoned as useless. He rewrote programs that were considered obsolete. He added small touches of genius that no other species would have thought necessary. One night, he stood on the observation deck, staring at the stars. The Perseverance was no longer just a discarded relic. It was becoming a promise. A challenge to every alien who had ever laughed at human persistence. Joran touched the hull softly, feeling the vibrations from the engines below. "You'll fly soon," he said, voice steady, full of certainty. "And when you do, they'll remember why humans are different." But for Joran Hale, and for the outcast ship called the Perseverance, a future of adventure, danger, and glory had already begun. By the time the first test flight was ready, the ship buzzed with energy, alive in a way it never had before. The engines purred smoothly. The controls responded instantly. Even the old, glitchy AI emitted a light that seemed almost proud. And Joran smiled, knowing that the galaxy had rejected this ship, but the galaxy didn't know what a human could do. The first test flight began at dawn. The hangar bay doors slowly opened, revealing the endless black of space dotted with distant stars. Joran Hale stood on the observation deck of the Perseverance, his hands on the control panel, heart racing with excitement. Today, the ship that everyone had rejected would finally leave the safety of the dock. "Ready?" Joran asked the AI. A soft series of beeps and clicks answered. "Ready," it seemed to say. He grinned. "Good. Let's show them what we've got." Joran ignored them, adjusting the energy flows with practiced hands. Gradually, the trembling stopped. The hum of the engines became steady, confident, almost alive. Outside, the hangar crew gasped. The old, dented ship that had never flown properly before was gliding smoothly, rising above the station. A few aliens who had once mocked the purchase were now watching in silent disbelief. Joran pushed the ship forward. In moments they were out in open space. He tested every system: navigation, shields, energy redistribution. Each function performed better than expected. The ship responded like a living thing, anticipating his commands almost instinctively. "Impressive," muttered a small alien observer through the comlink, its voice full of awe. "I've never seen a ship adjust itself like that." Most pilots would have panicked. Most ships would have been crippled, but Joran's modifications were clever. He had installed adaptive shields and a reactive hull system. Within moments, the ship redistributed energy, reinforced the impact point, and spun out of the asteroid's path. Joran's grin widened. "See, told you she could handle it." Some were staring, some were whispering. All were realizing something they had never considered. Humans could think in ways they couldn't. Humans could see possibilities where others saw only limitations. Over the next few weeks, Joran pushed the ship harder. He took it through nebula clouds, dodged meteor storms, and performed maneuvers that defied conventional physics, or at least conventional alien physics. Every system he repaired or upgraded made the ship faster, stronger, smarter. One evening, while tweaking the energy redistribution system, he noticed a pattern in the AI's response. It wasn't just following commands. It was learning, predicting potential problems before they happened. Joran leaned back, eyes wide. "You're getting clever, aren't you?" he said softly. The AI responded with a series of affirming clicks. He realized then that he hadn't just fixed a ship. He had created a partner. Together, they could do things no other pilot and ship combination could. Rumors began to spread throughout the star systems. Word reached distant traders and military stations. A human had revived a ship no one else wanted, a ship that now performed beyond any expectations. Some dismissed it as exaggeration, a human's boast. Others began to watch, curious. It wasn't long before a small pirate gang learned of the ship. They were bold, reckless, and looking for easy prey. Joran hadn't planned for combat yet. He was still testing the ship's systems, but he welcomed the challenge. The pirates approached with 3 sleek attack ships, confident in their speed and firepower. They didn't expect a rusted relic to respond with such precision. Joran's heart pounded as he dodged their first volleys. The ship's adaptive shields flared, absorbing energy in ways no conventional system could. Joran guided the Perseverance through a series of sharp turns and spirals, confusing the attackers. Lasers meant to hit the ship struck each other instead, ricocheting off asteroids in unpredictable patterns. The pirates were stunned. They had underestimated the human mechanic and the ship. With a calculated move, Joran used the ship's enhanced propulsion to swing behind one of the pirate vessels. A concentrated energy pulse sent it spinning out of control, harmlessly drifting toward a nearby planet. The other ships retreated, leaving the human and his battered starship triumphant. Joran laughed, exhilarated. "You see, she's not just fast. She's smart." Galactic authorities began sending emissaries, curious about the ship's capabilities. Traders wanted to buy it, military factions wanted to study it, and rival engineers attempted to replicate Joran's modifications. All failed. They could copy systems, but they could not copy human intuition. They could not copy creativity. Joran faced them calmly. "This ship isn't for sale," he told the emissaries one by one. "It's not for study, it's mine." Night after night, he tested new systems. He added small but powerful innovations: stealth modules that bent light around the hull, emergency repair drones that could mend damage in seconds, and navigation programs that allowed the ship to anticipate obstacles before they were visible. Every improvement made the ship more capable, more unique, more alive. During one particularly daring test, Joran decided to enter a dense asteroid field. No ship of that size should have survived, but the Perseverance danced through the rocks, spinning, sliding, and accelerating with astonishing precision. Joran felt a surge of pride. Every maneuver was proof that human creativity could surpass the galaxy's expectations. At the edge of the asteroid field, he paused, watching the rocks drift away. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of unknown dangers and possibilities. And he realized something important. This ship wasn't just about flight. It was about humanity, about the ability to take what others discard, to defy expectations, and to succeed where no one thought possible. Word reached distant star systems. The tales of a human who tamed the impossible ship became a story whispered in docking bays, military outposts, and merchant stations. Some doubted the stories, others were fascinated, and a few, secretly, felt threatened. But Joran didn't care about reputation. He cared about the Perseverance, about testing limits, and about proving that humans could turn rejection into triumph. As the sun rose over the distant planet below, Joran stood at the ship's control panel, staring at the endless void. The Perseverance hummed beneath him, alive, ready for whatever challenge came next. A new idea struck him, a test far beyond anything he had attempted. He would push the ship to its absolute limits, see what it could do, and continue proving that no galaxy, no challenge, no obstacle could outsmart human ingenuity. He smiled. The galaxy thought it had rejected him, rejected the ship, rejected humanity. But together, human and machine were about to show the universe something it had never seen. The galaxy no longer laughed at the Perseverance. News of the human mechanic and his impossible ship had spread far beyond the old shipyard. Trade stations whispered about it. Patrol fleets shared quiet warnings. Even powerful alien councils began to listen. A ship once rejected by everyone was now being talked about as something dangerous. Joran Hale noticed the change immediately. When the Perseverance docked at stations, guards appeared. Scanners followed every movement. Messages arrived daily, offers, requests, threats hidden behind polite words. Joran ignored most of them. He kept working, improving the ship in small but clever ways. But the galaxy was watching now. One day, while running diagnostics near a neutral trade system, a heavily armed alien patrol fleet jumped out of hyperspace and surrounded him. Their ships were clean, modern, and built for war. "This is Galactic Authority Patrol," a calm voice said through the comm. "Power down your engines and prepare for inspection." "This ship's performance reports are unusual," the lead inspector said. "You are violating no laws, but your technology concerns the Council." The Perseverance was no longer invisible. That night, Joran sat alone on the bridge, listening to the ship's quiet hum. He knew this moment would come. When humans proved too capable, others grew nervous. "You feel it too, don't you?" he said softly to the AI. A calm tone answered him, steady, alert. The next challenge came sooner than expected. A distant colony sent out an emergency signal. A massive alien war collective known as the Vraxian Combine was moving through nearby systems, forcing smaller species into submission without open war. Their fleets were enormous, their technology overwhelming. Resistance usually ended before it began. The colony begged for help. No major fleet responded. It wasn't worth the risk. Joran listened to the message in silence. "They'll be wiped out," he said quietly. No orders came from the Council, no permission, no support. But humans had never waited for permission. Joran set a course. When the Perseverance arrived, the Vraxian fleet was already there. Dozens of warships filled the space above the colony world, their shadows crawling across the planet's surface. The Vraxians noticed the small human ship immediately. One vessel, a Vraxian commander, mocked over open comms. "You insult us." Alien sensors failed to lock on. Joran used the environment. He flew close to the planet's magnetic field, letting it distort enemy targeting systems. He cut engines suddenly, then reignited them at impossible angles. The ship appeared, vanished, reappeared behind enemy lines. Confusion spread through the Vraxian fleet. "What is that ship doing?" one commander shouted. "It doesn't follow combat patterns," another replied. That was the problem. Human combat thinking was not clean or predictable. It was creative, improvised, adaptable. Joran didn't destroy ships unless necessary. He disabled them, overloaded engines, fried communication systems, sent powerful but controlled pulses that shut down fleets without causing mass destruction. Within minutes, several Vraxian ships drifted helplessly. The rest pulled back. "This makes no sense," the Vraxian commander hissed. "It is one ship." Galactic leaders gathered in emergency sessions. Humans, once considered adaptable but weak, were being reclassified, dangerous. Some species wanted alliances, others wanted control, and some wanted the ship destroyed. Joran felt it when he jumped back to open space. Shadow signals followed him, silent tracking drones, hidden watchers. "They're scared now," he said. The AI responded with a soft warning tone. Then came the trap. While traveling through a known trade corridor, hyperspace collapsed around the Perseverance. Specialized gravity fields locked it in place. An entire fleet decloaked, advanced, organized, and hostile. This wasn't pirates. This was a planned operation. "You are ordered to surrender your ship," the fleet commander announced. "For the safety of the galaxy." It didn't break. Joran flew straight into the fleet formation. No sane pilot would do that. Enemy targeting systems failed completely. Their computers couldn't understand what the ship was doing. Explosions erupted, not from weapons, but from overloaded systems collapsing under their own complexity. One by one, enemy ships went dark. The survivors fled. When silence returned, Joran exhaled slowly, hands shaking. "That was close," he said. The AI emitted a steady tone, strong, confident. The message spread instantly. Human ingenuity had beaten planning, numbers, and control. From that moment on, humans were no longer ignored. Human engineers were invited, sometimes demanded to join research programs. Human tactics were studied. Human creativity was feared, and the Perseverance became something more than a ship. It became a symbol, a warning, a reminder that humans did not need permission to change the galaxy. Joran stood on the bridge watching stars stretch ahead. "They wanted a weapon," he said quietly, "but they don't understand." And the biggest problem the galaxy had ever created was underestimating them. Far away, massive fleets began to move. Something larger was coming, something that would not retreat, and the Perseverance was heading straight toward it. The galaxy held its breath. Across dozens of star systems, fleets were moving, not pirates, not patrols. This was the Unified Suppression Armada, a massive force created by the most powerful alien species. They had reached one shared conclusion. Human creativity was too dangerous. Their goal was simple: remove the symbol before it became an idea that spread. That symbol was the Perseverance. Joran Hale knew they were coming long before sensors confirmed it. The ship felt tense, its systems running quietly, efficiently. Every upgrade, every human-made backup, every clever workaround was ready. "This is it," Joran said softly. The AI responded with a calm tone. No fear, only readiness. The Armada appeared at the edge of the system like a wall of metal and light. Hundreds of ships, carriers, command vessels, enough power to erase entire worlds. A single transmission echoed across space. "Human vessel, power down. Surrender your ship. This is your final warning." Predictive models failed instantly. The first volleys missed completely. Joran didn't aim to destroy. He aimed to outthink. He led the Armada into a dense gravity field near a dead star. Their massive ship struggled to adjust. The Perseverance danced through distorted space, using gravity slings, sudden stops, and sharp turns that no standard ship design allowed. Enemy formations broke. Commanders shouted in confusion. "It's using the environment." One fleet fired blindly and hit its own allies. The Armada hesitated. That hesitation changed everything. Human fleets arrived. They were smaller, less advanced, but they had learned. They copied not the ship, but the thinking. Human pilots flew unpredictably. Engineers rerouted power mid-flight. Captains ignored rigid formations and adapted in real time. The battle shifted. The Armada had power. Humans had flexibility. Joran led the charge, weaving through the chaos, disabling command ships one by one. No unnecessary destruction, just clean, precise shutdowns. The alien leaders finally understood. They weren't fighting a ship. They were fighting a mindset. As the Armada began to retreat, a final transmission came through, this time without arrogance. "We misjudged you," the Alien Council said. "We believed control created safety. You have proven that adaptability creates survival." Human engineers were no longer ignored. Human pilots were respected. Human ideas were invited instead of feared. And the Perseverance, it was retired from combat, not destroyed, not captured, honored. The ship was placed in a neutral system, open for all species to visit, not as a weapon, but as a lesson. Joran stood on the bridge one last time, running his hand along the familiar controls. "You did good," he said. The AI responded with a soft, content tone. As he left the ship, he looked back once more. The galaxy had rejected it. The galaxy had feared it. But in the end, the galaxy learned from it. Because humans didn't become the strongest by force. They became the strongest by refusing to accept limits. And somewhere among the stars, new ships were being built, not perfect, not polished, but full of possibility, just like humanity itself.